Welcome back. It's Destination Uri. It is the morning programme. How joyful to welcome Bertie Flynn back in the studio again. It's good to see you, Bertie. And also Licia Troughton, who's my aide-de-camp here at the moment, presenting the programme. All the way, this woman has come from Canada with her linen memorial. It's in the Dominican Church.
Correct.
And we're there tonight at 8 o'clock. Are you coming? If you can come. It'll be great. It's a Tasia service remembering those who have passed away in their troubles. You know.
And I was born here, so.
Yeah, she was.
I'm an insider-outsider.
May I tell you?
If you're born here, you're a local.
Thank you very much.
It's
Nice to be welcomed home.
Oh, Belfast. No, she's not a local.
No, she's not a local.
She's what they classify as a blow-in.
A blow-in.
Oh dear.
Sorry.
Bertie and I grew up together. We were scouts together.
Boy Scouts.
We learned how to look after ourselves. We learned the business.
And other people, I
And other
understand.
people too, yes, of course. That was the first aid within scouting.
Rub two sticks together and make a fire?
We
that
could
kind of
always
thing?
do that. But were you ever able to rub two sticks together? and
We
make a
did. We
fire?
done it. Yeah.
You did it.
I did it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You done it too, bro. It was part of your rally.
Rally test.
Yes.
Would you
used
have
stones
different
and that.
badges? Is
We
that
had.
how
Oh
you-
yeah. They were known now as merit badges.
Merit badges,
You know.
yes.
You know.
We had brownies and Canadian girls in training.
My goodness. There you
Well,
are.
brownies would be known here as the Brigiens.
The Brigiens,
Brigitte.
yeah. That's
No,
an
excuse me,
Irish
Canada
name.
it was explorers and then Canadian girls in training.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, brownies was American.
Aren't you fascinated that a man here set up business independently in this town 40 years ago and is going strong today? Such a man would have been good in
Fabulous.
Canada, you know.
Yeah.
But you stayed here. And
Sorry.
you stayed here.
We stayed here, and amazingly, the class I was up in school, there was 43 boys in it, and out of that, only 11 stayed at
Really?
home. It was what you call immigration, because there was no work, no opportunities, no nothing.
As well as the Troubles.
As well as the troubles. Troubles go back many generations before the Troubles, you know. So you had basically you had the education, system and everything else, and you know yourself, Rowan. You had
People had
a
to
substantial bit of money if you wanted to go through the education
school,
system.
yeah, all of
you know,
that,
all
yeah.
that.
The possession, you branched off into a different kind of business. You sold clothing. And then it became a specialist area of Holy Communion, confirmation things. What took you in that direction?
Basically, what took us in that direction, we have our children of our own, and when we done a checking out, and we found out that it was hard to come by some stuff because in Ireland they weren't producing.
When you say stuff.
With fashion, you know. In Ireland they weren't producing in that, and then there was you had the problem of import duties and everything else because you hadn't got the EU.
Oh yes.
What was it? EEC?
Yes, it was. It was the European Coal Community to begin with,
yeah.
and then it became the European Union now.
Yeah. So everything was double taxed and double, costly and all this thing. But then they started producing stuff locally, and that was an opportunity to start selling, locally and things like that. And then from that, you had the European Union, and once you were in that, you could buy anywhere within Europe, or get agents and people like that.
So you
come
had
to
gowns and fabrics and...
Yeah, but they weren't made here. Couldn't be. They were made in places like Belgium and places like that, but
Because the
they weren't
labour-
in the EU at that time. There was no structure like that. As Rowan said, it was set up, I think it was after the Second World War, wasn't it?
Yes.
To get
yes,
Germany
it
on
was.
its feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get Germany on its feet or something
Absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely.
And it was more or less to do with coal and steel.
Absolutely.
So
you got moving on it, and you were coming into a time 40 years ago when Newry was a warlike place. It was a difficult place.
Newry was on its legs. It was actually worse than that. You had nobody had the just hadn't got the thing to pick yourself up. There was no grants. There was no nothing. That was it. The Troubles, but before the Troubles, you had what we would have called cross-border. And you had, then it was, as you probably wouldn't remember, maybe you would, you had the punt. You had sterling,
the
and then
Irish
you had
money,
the
yeah.
punt, and then you
Yeah.
had the confusion with that.
But significantly, it's 40 years that's
It's 40 years,
significant.
yeah.
Because you're 40 years in business.
Yeah.
40 years ago or thereabouts, the trouble started.
The trouble started in,
Did it coincide more or less with your...
It did. Well, the problem with the problem we had was that you didn't know when to open and when to close because of the troubles. You could come down. We lived in an estate called Barcroft at the time, and there was, as we said last week, there was only one telephone on the street, and somebody would come along and give you a message. You better get down.
How many people using that telephone?
Oh, the entire street.
The whole street.
Yeah.
You know. And then they introduced an hour phone. An hour person got a phone. I think we were about the second or third, and it was shared lines. So you had to make sure nobody was listening to your conversation. You know.
As kids today couldn't even imagine, could they? You know, everyone's got their own
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
Incredible. And in your family stayed for, you know, would you have a sort of reason that you stayed versus someone else leaving, or?
Sorry.
Well, you know, when you said only 11 stayed, would they stay in Uri or Northern Ireland, or from your
They were
class?
they stayed local, and
You know,
they
what
all got
possessed
mini
you to
jobs.
stay? What gave you the grit to stay?
At one stage,
The grit, yeah, that's...
yeah. At
Thank
one
you.
stage, we were going to Australia because they had given you Australians had
Yeah.
given money to go out, and a
Yeah,
lot of people.
£10 passage or something.
That's
Aye,
it,
something like
yeah.
that, you know. I think it was a wee bit more, but it was something similar anyway. And then we said no with parents and that, and we said no, you know. It was a family commitment, more so. Because
The link to your parents.
yeah, to my parents and that, and I'm the eldest in the family. So,
You could break their hearts.
well,
Absolutely.
you were too far away. There was no such a thing as Flynn then as such. I think it was all,
Skype.
it was boat
yeah.
passage.
We had the joy
Long
of meeting
passage.
the other day in the Dominican church.
Yeah.
Your sister, your sister, your daughter, and your granddaughter over in the Dominican. Was it his granddaughter? Certainly your sister.
Right.
There was a wedding in the family recently.
That's right. I was
And
at
she
it,
was
yeah.
looking, and we were talking about the old days in the meadow. We were telling her about the linen memorial, which is on tonight in the
Yeah.
Dominican at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I seen it in the
Please, you explain to
cathedral,
Bertie briefly
Ignacy.
what the linen memorial achieves, what it's trying to do.
Well, I think it's trying to create a space where people are able to grieve somewhat, to maybe tell someone they're with a story, to find a name, to sit, reflect. There's a kind of strange touching of the names on the fabric, and if you're a man who's had a shop of fashion and gowns and ecclesiastic fabrics, you know what that can do in a space that's very vast and awe-inspiring. You know, it brings you close, and then the white stitching on the linen brings you close, and you just kind of resonate with that, and maybe tell someone a story, think about a few things, and move on. That's what I've tried to do. It's an interesting memorial. I call it a memorial. I know that's maybe a controversial word, but
not
there you
at
go.
all.
It's something to remember.
But people will be
Linen's
able to...
coming back again.
Yeah? Hmm?
Linen's coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
again.
And in Ireland.
Yeah.
Tell me what you know about that. I'm curious. You know.
Well, linen was a lot of big factories and that, big places done linen. You know, you had I think Bessbrook.
Bessbrook, certainly, yeah.
At one stage.
Sion Mills,
Yes.
Bessbrook, and Lisburn.
Yeah.
They were the centres.
There was a triangle, wasn't there?
Yeah, that was
we've
it.
done
Sion
some of that
Mills,
research.
Bessbrook,
Yeah.
But the thing is, you'll be able to see a lot of this tonight once you come over if you're there. These are individual linen cloths about the size of that by that, and they're hanging where the women of the world have embroidered the names of those who have perished into them. So every dead person in our troubles is remembered in Lisa's linen memorial.
Right.
And you were talking about this, thanks, Rowan, as a kind of border town with north and south issues in it. And maybe that's why people were more skeptical or nervous about living here. I don't know, you know. And
No,
was
well-
it hard for you to keep staying?
well,
I mean, you had this passage
Well,
to
well,
Australia.
the worst experience, or one of the worst experience I ever felt in my life, and we thought there was no turning to it at all. We thought it was the end, and that was we were bombed out of the building in Canal Street, the shop. It was across the way, and we got the blast, and that was it. Blew us to Kingdom Come. Everywhere else, we were doing the market also, in the market and that. I remember us going in on a Thursday, and it was a desperate atmosphere. And I explained the best I can. Rowan would probably remember it. There was tit for tat killing going on in the area. We had the Ravy Bros, God rest them.
Catholics?
Yes. We had the Donnelly, I think it was Donnelly's out in Silver Bridge. We had the Miami at that time. And then we had the Kenny Mill.
The King's Mill massacre,
Mill
where
on
Protestants were massacred.
All at the one time.
So bad people. It's wrong to say Catholics were killing Protestants. They weren't. Bad people who had allegiances to loyalism in Britain, allegiances to the ideal of a united Ireland, would single out the opposite, who you would normally deal with in politics. Yeah. But they shot them and killed them. Oh, it was an ongoing business.
It was nobody could see it and enter it. And we were in the market this Thursday.
What years are you talking about?
70s.
76 or 70, something like
So you were in the market?
And it was a Thursday when all this was going on. And there was, people was beside us, and there were, there were Protestants. I hate using a distinction, things like that.
That's just reality,
but it was
Bertie, they are.
and they were frightened as much as we were. They were more frightened because they had come to a totally nationalist area, and the trouble within the locality of the area, because the farthest point away would have been probably Banbridge, this side of Banbridge with Miami, you know, and Showban, and everywhere else was like Silver Bridge and King's Mill and all that was all low, and everybody, there was connections in families, so if they didn't, they knew connections in families and that. It was a desperate atmosphere, and I remember us standing there and us pleading with them not to go home, not to leave the market and everything, and to stay. And right enough, they did stay. It settled down a bit, but it was a desperate, it was unreal.
It took great courage, Bertie, to remain in operation and trading during those bad times.
Well, my attitude was that I was born, reared and bred in Uri, and nobody was going to tell me different, that what I could or could not do in my hometown. That was my attitude. Now, it might have been a ridiculous attitude, but that's the way I seen it.
Well, it was home, and if you had broken those ties, you never knew what we'd have to change into in Australia or Canada or something.
Difficult.
I don't think I would have ever been able to settle anything else. I don't think any of us. And funny, and amazingly, all our family have all stayed together.
Oh, yeah,
you know, there was.
And what are the benefits of that? Because I don't have the benefit of that. We went out for, you know, we're a nuclear family. That's it. You know.
The benefits is that you'll see them all the time, and if there's anything happens in the family, you're there. You know, or if the family needs support, you're there, and vice versa. And they're all cousins and all working together, and you know, all that type of things.
So you're glad you stayed.
Yeah. Now, for instance, we'll give you a bit of an idea. On Christmas morning, it's a tradition we have within the family. It just started. It wasn't laid out or anything. Just started, and that on Christmas morning they all come. And last Christmas there was 22
visiting the
house, all at the one time.
Your house above the shop.
A house we live above the premises and that.
And have a garden out the back.
Well, it's not. It's a yard more than anything else and that. And all there and all greeting one. And what the whole crack was, we have 3 granddaughters, and we have 7. I think it's 8 boys. There's 11 grandchildren and that. But there was no dolls. They were all. You know, these guns and toy cars and all the different things, all boy stuff, but there was no dolls, and they were given off. There's no dolls for girls.
Yeah, I saw a little boy in the chapel in the church with a doll. It wasn't it was kind of a androgynous looking doll, but it was cute.
I mean, now these
we're getting into gender studies.